Warning disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. This content is meant for audiences aged 20 and above. It was the kind of silence that didn't come with peace. The room was dim, washed in the soft amber glow of the evening light filtering through the sheer curtains. I lay there, face down, still in my dress, the same sky-blue summer dress he once said made me look like something worth staying home for. But that was before. Before the conversations grew quieter. Before the look stopped lingering. Before the truth started hiding in plain sight. No music played. Just the sound of our breaths, heavy and unsure. He entered the room slowly, like someone walking into a place that no longer felt like theirs. My back was to him, my heart already curled up into itself, waiting for warmth or war. I didn't turn to look. I didn't need to. I could feel the shift in the air, the caution in his steps, the weight of something unsaid pressing into the silence. This was Daniel. My husband of 7 years. My dream once. My stranger now. He hadn't touched me in weeks, not truly. Not without hesitation or guilt hanging from his fingertips. But tonight, he came to me. Not with words. Not with the softness we once knew. He came as if trying to remember what we had, or to forget what he'd done. I didn't move. I didn't resist. Because sometimes love feels like surrendering to a moment just to feel something again, even if it hurts. Beneath my dress, I felt the flutter of his hand, uncertain and searching. His touch was warm, but not familiar. Not anymore. Still, a part of me wanted to believe it meant something. That maybe he missed me. That maybe he was trying. But then he whispered her name. Not mine. Her name, soft as silk, sharp as betrayal, broke through the tension like glass against skin. I didn't cry. Not then. I just lay still, my dress a fragile armor between the lie I was living and the truth I refused to see. My body was here, with him, but my heart had left the room long ago. I had known about the other woman for 3 months. She worked late like he did. Sent polite texts that weren't too obvious. Left faint perfume trails on his collars that didn't belong to me. I never confronted him, not directly. Maybe I was afraid of what he'd say. Or worse, what he wouldn't. And yet here we were. 2 strangers in love with a memory. 2 hearts bruising under the weight of unspoken confessions. As he pressed against me, I finally turned my face toward the window. That's when I saw it. A phone, hidden behind the curtain. Its screen faintly glowing. Recording us. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about love anymore. This was a game. And I was never meant to win. Daniel didn't notice the phone. Or maybe he did, and chose not to care. His hands found my waist like muscle memory, familiar but no longer curious. His breath caught as if he, too, was holding something back, not just words, but regret. Or guilt. Maybe both. The soft fabric of my dress crinkled beneath his palms, and for a moment, I thought he would say something. Anything. But he didn't. Instead, he moved with practiced silence, like this moment was rehearsed, like he was searching for something he used to feel but no longer could. I could sense it in the pause of his fingers, the way they lingered but didn't linger enough. We used to be fire and laughter. He would touch me like he was memorizing me. Every freckle. Every sigh. Back then, intimacy was where we spoke most clearly. We'd lie tangled together, whispering dreams into each other's skin, as if tomorrow would be built on nothing but our belief in us. But now, his touch was an echo of that past, hollow, careful, transactional. He leaned down, his breath brushing the back of my neck. I stiffened slightly. Not because I didn't want him, but because I didn't know which version of him I was allowing in. The man I loved? Or the man who now loved someone else in secret? Still, a part of me ached to be seen. To be touched like I mattered again. Do you remember Maine? I whispered. His body tensed. Our first anniversary, I added, softly. The little cabin with no cell service. We got lost on the hiking trail. He didn't answer right away. But his hand did pause, just long enough for me to feel the weight of memory between us. Yeah, he said finally. We made love on that old wooden bench behind the cabin. You wore that scarf I liked. I still have it, I said. I felt him draw back slightly. His silence was louder now. You haven't looked at me in weeks, Daniel, I said. Not really. He didn't reply. Instead, he pulled away, as if the moment had gotten too close. Too real. I'm tired, he said, his voice distant. Long day. And just like that, he left the room. Leaving behind the warmth of his body. And the chill of something broken. The door closed behind him with a soft thud, but its echo stayed in the room, louder than it had any right to be. I didn't move. I listened to his footsteps retreat down the hallway, followed by the distant sound of the faucet in the guest bathroom. He wasn't even using the one in our bedroom anymore. That small choice hurt more than I wanted to admit. I sat up slowly, the hem of my dress brushing over my thighs, cool against my skin. My fingers reached for the edge of the bed where his warmth had just been. Empty. Like everything else between us lately. The phone behind the curtain blinked again. I rose and walked to it, heart pounding, not with fear, but something else. A bitter confirmation. The screen was cracked at the edge, as if it had been dropped in a hurry. I didn't recognize the device. It wasn't mine. It wasn't his. But the camera was still recording. I turned it off. Slid it into the drawer without a word. Someone was watching. Or trying to. And the question wasn't just who, but why. Downstairs, I heard Daniel talking softly. Not loud enough to catch the words. Just the tone, calm, measured. It wasn't a work call. It wasn't how he spoke to clients. This was his quiet voice, the one he used when he didn't want to wake me at night, or when he thought I wasn't listening. I stepped quietly to the top of the stairs, pausing at the railing. He was standing by the sliding glass doors, phone in hand, shoulders slouched forward, not in exhaustion, but in vulnerability. The way he leaned against the frame, head tilted slightly, it wasn't the posture of a man defending secrets. It was the posture of a man needing something. Comfort, maybe. Or forgiveness. I can't keep this up, he murmured. A pause. I know. I said I'd tell her, but she's not ready. I'm not ready. My breath caught. Tell me what, Daniel? The intimacy wasn't in the words, it was in the way he spoke them. Tender. Familiar. Like he wasn't just talking. He was confessing, to someone who already knew everything. I backed away before he saw me. In the bedroom, I stared at our wedding photo on the dresser. My smile was wide, radiant. His was soft, protective. That photo used to bring me peace. Now, it felt like a relic of a life I no longer recognized. A soft knock at the door pulled me back. It wasn't Daniel. It was Hannah, our neighbor. The one who always smiled a little too warmly at him. Who brought homemade peach cobbler the night I was out of town. Who once mentioned she accidentally texted Daniel when she meant to message someone else. She stood there, looking flustered, holding a folded towel in her arms. Sorry to bother you, she said. I think this is yours. It was left by your pool last weekend. I took it with a nod, eyes never leaving hers. And just for a second, I saw it. Guilt. I stood at the door long after Hannah had left, the towel pressed against my chest like armor. Her scent clung to the fabric, vanilla and something faintly floral. Familiar now. Too familiar. I wanted to scream, to tear the towel in half and demand answers. But instead, I closed the door softly, as if keeping the truth quiet would make it easier to bear. Downstairs, the silence had returned. Daniel was no longer in sight. His voice, his presence, gone, like a whisper that never quite reached the end of a sentence. I walked back to the bed, each step heavy with the weight of years. My dress, once my favorite, now felt like a costume. A piece of a performance we both kept pretending wasn't falling apart. I picked up the wedding photo from the dresser, tracing the edge with trembling fingers. Our smiles mocked me now, two people who had no idea how love could shift, how distance didn't always look like a fight, sometimes it was just space where intimacy used to live. Then I heard the creak of the stairs. I turned, and he was there. Daniel stood in the doorway, eyes shadowed, lips parted like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. We looked at each other, really looked, for the first time in what felt like months. "I saw you," I whispered. "By the window. On the phone." His jaw clenched, but he didn't look away. "You're slipping away from me, Daniel," I said, voice breaking. "And I don't know how to hold you anymore." He stepped closer, slowly, like approaching a wounded thing. "I don't know how to be what you need," he said quietly. "But I never stopped loving you." I blinked, stung by the gentleness in his voice. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't enough. He reached out and touched my cheek. I leaned into it, against every instinct, because despite everything, I still ached for him. For us. His hand lingered, brushing back a strand of hair. Then, he kissed me. Not out of passion, but pain. A desperate kiss. A final grasp at something that used to be whole. We broke apart, breathless. But in his eyes, I saw it. Regret. And something else. Finality. The kiss faded into silence, and for a long moment, we just stood there, him with his hand still gently cradling my jaw, me staring into the face I used to trust without question. His lips were parted, like he wanted to say something more. But the words never came. "I need to ask you something," I whispered, stepping back just enough to breathe. He blinked. "Anything." Did it mean something? With her? His body stiffened, just slightly. Not denial. Not confirmation. I turned away, the weight of that pause louder than any answer. But before I could move, something fell from his pocket. A small square envelope, cream-colored, expensive, sealed in red wax. I knelt to pick it up. He didn't stop me. The seal was already cracked. Inside, a photo. A still shot. Of me. Lying face down on the bed. In this very room. In the dress I was still wearing. My breath caught. It wasn't taken from his phone. Or mine. It was taken from that same angle, by the curtain. The phone I found. Someone had printed it. Delivered it to him. He didn't speak. Didn't try to explain. His silence was a confession all on its own. "Daniel, who gave you this?" I asked, my voice low and trembling. He didn't meet my eyes. "It was left at my office." "No note." "And you didn't think to tell me? You just kept it?" My hands shook. He ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't know how to tell you. I thought, maybe it was a warning. Or a threat." "From who?" His silence again. This time, heavier. I stood there, photo in hand, piecing together the fragments in real time. The hidden phone. The woman at the door. The odd timing. The towel. And now, this envelope. "What aren't you telling me?" I asked. He looked at me then. really looked. His voice was gravel, low and hesitant. She said, if I didn't end things with you, she'd make sure you saw the truth. The words hit me like cold water. She? Hannah, he said quietly. It's not what you think. It wasn't love. It was a moment. One I regret. I turned to the mirror. I barely recognized the woman looking back at me, dressed in memory, surrounded by lies, caught in someone else's game. But even now, despite the betrayal, my heart wasn't done. Not yet. Because beneath the pain was something else. A hunger for truth. For clarity. For justice. For closure, or for something darker. I stood in the center of the room, the photo trembling in my hand. My world felt cracked, like the glass of our picture frame, fractured, but not yet shattered. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I didn't. Instead, I said the one thing I never thought I would. Bring her here. Daniel's head snapped up. What? You want honesty? Let's stop hiding behind silence. Bring Hannah here. Tonight. He hesitated, but something in my voice told him it wasn't a request. 20 minutes later, she arrived. The door creaked open and there she was, composed, falsely calm. She walked into my home like she had every right to. Her eyes flicked to Daniel, then to me. And when she saw the photo in my hand, she froze. I trusted you, I said softly, not to him, but to her. Hannah stepped forward, her smile faltering. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I just wanted him to see what he was missing. You never looked happy. You watched us. Filmed us, I said, voice rising. And sent it to him? Her jaw clenched. I didn't think you'd find it. Daniel stepped in. This ends now. Whatever it was, it's over. But she wasn't looking at him. She was staring at me. You think he came back for you? She whispered. He came back because he thought I'd show you first. That's why he kissed you. The words hit hard. Not because they might be true, but because they were cruel. I didn't come back for either of you, Daniel said, stepping between us. I came back to say goodbye. That silenced the room. He turned to me, eyes full of something I couldn't name, sadness, guilt, love. I'm leaving, he said. Not with her. Not to anyone else. Just, away. I wanted to hate him. But I couldn't. Because as he walked out, leaving the broken photo, the shattered trust, I realized something deeper. I wasn't the one abandoned. I was the one finally freed. And Hannah? She stood there, watching him go, heartbroken in a way I recognized too well. Then, she looked at me. I think I fell in love with the wrong person, she said, almost breathless. And for a heartbeat, I didn't hate her. I just looked at her. And realized, this story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. The house felt quieter after Daniel left, as if it had exhaled a breath it had been holding in for years. I didn't cry when the door closed behind him, not because it didn't hurt, but because the pain had become familiar. And in that familiarity, I found clarity. Hannah stayed. Not out of defiance or guilt, but something else. She stood near the window, where the camera had once hidden, her arms crossed, eyes distant. I didn't mean to destroy anything, she said finally, her voice small. I thought, maybe he'd choose me. I sat on the edge of the bed, the same spot where so much had unraveled. He didn't choose either of us, I said quietly. She nodded. I know. There was a long silence between us, neither angry nor forgiving. Just real. I loved him, I said. Even when he stopped loving me the way I needed. But that's not enough, is it? No, she replied. It's not. I looked at her, truly looked. And for the first time, I didn't see a rival. I saw a woman, flawed, hurting, human. Much like me. You should go, I said, not unkindly. She nodded, stepping toward the door. But before leaving, she turned back. You're stronger than you think, she whispered. I hope you see that now. And then she was gone. Later that night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the quiet dark settle in. The house felt different. Not lonely. Just honest. I picked up the cracked wedding photo, slid it from its frame, and tucked it into a drawer, not to forget it, but to honor it for what it was. A chapter. Not the whole book. Sometimes love doesn't look like forever. Sometimes it looks like letting go. As I watched the wind shift the curtains gently, I realized this was the first time I felt something that had eluded me for months, peace. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something new.